Dustin in Texas. Pronouns are he, him. Welcome, Dustin. How are you, sir?
Matt, hi. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. And Andrew, hi. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Dustin?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
What have you got for us today?
Well, first, before I get to the topic, Matt, real quick. I saw you in person in Washington, D.C. area in 2018 at your Skeptics show.
Yeah.
And I think I owe you an apology.
Well,
I told you when I got to meet you at the end of the show, keep doing what you're doing. And I just think that's not the right thing to say, because who am I to tell you what to do or not to do? So instead, I want to say thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. No apology necessary. Let's get on with the show. We can have a drink sometime and argue semantics on how to say thanks. But I appreciate being appreciated, and thanks for saying so.
Excellent. And I would love that sometime. Okay, to the topic. I've been an agnostic for quite a while, and I've actually heard you talk about agnostics a lot and about how you really can't be one. And I kind of get it now. So I absolutely have no proof for God or no proof against God. I know I don't know. But in the past 2.5 years or so, I've actually come to the idea that I choose to believe in God. And in doing so, I feel like my life has gotten better. And just wanted to see what you had to say about that.
So first of all, I don't know what you think you've heard me say about agnostics, but depending on the definitions and usage, I am agnostic. So it's not an issue if I can't be one.
Right.
But when you say you just choose to believe in God, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced I can do that. I'm not convinced anybody can do that. Because when you believe something, that means you accept that it's true. And that's the result of becoming convinced. You can't just say, I choose to believe that the sky is on fire, unless there's some reason for it.
But
you can choose to act like you believe.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. But you can act like you believe there is no God when there is one. We don't know, right?
What I'm saying is that I don't see belief as a choice. Can you choose to believe that you have $23 billion in a savings account?
But I know, as the truth is, that I don't have 20.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I ask specific questions for a reason. Can you choose to believe? What if I told you that I had set up an account for you with this guy I know, and he set it up for you, and he put $23 billion in there? Can you just choose to believe that?
Well, what I would do, like every human, I would say, okay, show me and prove it. And then that would be either it's there or it's not.
Okay, so back to the question that I've asked, can you just choose to believe it?
If I absolutely don't know it and can't prove it, yes, absolutely, I can choose to believe it.
I completely disagree. I do not see belief in that. I don't see how it's possible. You can choose to act like you believe, but belief means you are convinced, not just you're going to pretend to be convinced, or you're going to act like you're convinced, or you wish you were convinced, or you're going to pretend. Belief is the result of being convinced. Where are you at, Andrew?
I mean, I think I'm in the same place as you, Matt. I mean, Dustin, I'm trying to envision the actual moment where you said this to yourself, and I can't picture it. You know what I mean? Like you agree there's no evidence, but you think you know you can't know, so you just say, okay, I believe there's a God. Like how did that actually play that out for me? In do a real replay for me.
Real replay. So
yeah,
when there's no proof for, but there is absolutely no proof against either. Zero proof against whether or not there's a God. We all.
I get your setup, but like, how did that actually work in your brain?
In my brain, it hit me that what if God created us not to know on purpose? And
okay, what if he didn't?
But exactly, what if he didn't? But you get to choose to believe if he did or didn't.
You don't get to choose.
Why not?
I mean, you're free to choose, but you can choose to say that you're convinced. You can choose to act like you're convinced, but that doesn't mean you're convinced. Becoming convinced of something isn't an act of volition. You have absolutely no control over what you are convinced about.
But what I'm hearing, I think, from Dustin, and Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm sensing where you were going with that is a little bit of reverse engineering, which is a term I use for the Supreme Court when they have a conclusion that they want to get to, and then they reverse engineer the rationale. And it sounds to me like that is what I just heard you say you did. Like you wanted to get to, okay, this is now a reason I can believe in God. Is that incorrect?
Exactly. Yes. No, that's correct. It is.
Okay.
It's like I've always wanted there to be God, but never had a reason to actually believe, especially in some of the religions today. I'm not going to even go there.
How do you know?
I don't believe in them.
How do you know that you're not engaged in self-deception then? Because you admit that you wanted there to be a God. You don't have evidence for it. You're convinced there's not evidence against it. So now you're just saying that you choose to believe. But that's not belief.
Right.
That's choosing to act as if you believe. That's choosing to say, I really want this to be. How many other things in your life do you want to be true? And then you just say, okay, I'm going to believe it. I want to believe that I have 25 people who love me and owe me money. I want to believe that this guy is red.
You're giving all these other reasons. I'm just talking about God. No,
and I'm talking about epistemology. This is the part here. I don't care that you're just talking about God. The point is, move it away from God, because the issue here is, what is belief? How do you become convinced? And you don't get to claim that there's a special set of convincing for God and not for other things. So when you dismiss that and say, I'm only talking about God, not these other things, what you're doing is lying about what you are convinced of, because epistemology doesn't care what the subject is. Your brain it doesn't matter if it's a God claim or a money claim or whatever else. You are either convinced by evidence or you're not. Why are you trying to engage in special pleading to pretend like the thing you want to be true is believable when it's not?
Well, that's the phrase I was going to use too, actually, special pleading. That's exactly what it sounds like. That hypothesis ought to be treated no differently than any other you have. So why, Dustin, are you treating it differently, at least in your own head?
Okay, so you guys are saying it's being treated differently. But why do you think it's any different from an atheist choosing not to believe in God?
Atheists don't choose to believe in God. I didn't choose to not believe. I am not convinced. Just like I didn't choose to not believe that I'm a billionaire. I didn't choose to not believe that that I'm the best looking person on the planet. I didn't choose to not believe any of those things. I'm just not convinced of the claim. Propositional logic relies on a claim. And it's not just a question of, it could be this or this, I'll just pick either one. It is an assertion that X is true, and you either accept that X is true or you don't accept that X is true. And for the claim, some God exists, I don't accept that it's true. I am not convinced.
But Dustin, why did you want to believe that there is a God?
Oh, well, to want to believe there is a God, it's like the idea of if there is a God, then that means there's more than just nothingness. Like there's like something more behind the scenes. There's more than just what it seems on the surface. And believing in God, it can kind of give a lot more life to this life.
That makes no sense to me. That that is the most sophistry nonsense thing I've ever heard. It gives more life to this life thing.
I think that's backwards.
Yeah.
I think that's backwards. Look, being human is hard, but it's also an adventure. And to say that there is an end to my existence is to concentrate the sweetness of everything, every moment that we do have here. Because that which is rare is valuable, and that which is eternal is banal. We're on this tiny outpost, the mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam, for that fleeting moment, for barely a blink. And it's up to us to endow that time with meaning and purpose. It's up to you, Dustin. To say that there's no God, as I do, is not to say that there's no meaning. It's to say that we give life meaning and purpose. You can try to do good and to practice empathy and to leave the world a better place. Facing reality, embracing reality isn't a necessary first step, but it's a damn good place to start, my friend.
Yeah, and attached to that, and I'll let you continue here in just a second, Dustin. Attached to that is when you say you want there to be a God because it adds more life to life, what you're also saying is all of us who don't believe in God are somehow deficient in life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that life could be
Then
better.
prove
if you
it.
believe in God.
Then prove it. I know you've chosen to believe that
Okay.
all the rest of us are deficient in life, but I don't buy that bullshit. So prove that I am deficient in life.
It's not that your life is bad, or I'm just saying it could be better. I'm just saying. If you
And
have
I'm saying,
gratitude,
prove
like
it.
you're
Why is
always-
it that I keep asking very specific questions and
Okay,
you
I'll
avoid
prove it.
them? Prove that my life could be better.
By being grateful without God, you don't need God in it. By being grateful, does it make your life better?
I didn't say anything about. I have no opposition to being grateful. Are you going to argue honestly,
Okay.
or are you just going to keep coming up with irrelevant
believe
things?
in God,
Do you
if you're
think for a
grateful for
second
God,
that I
that
don't
makes your life
that I'm not
better.
grateful, that I don't appreciate things?
I mean, Dustin, look,
I stepped on you. Go ahead.
it's comforting sometimes to think there's an all-powerful, all-knowing God that has a plan for you. It's comforting to think there's a God that loves you, that loves
And
us.
it's not
Except
about him having a
that you
plan
have,
for me,
but think about what you have to ignore. Think about what you have to ignore to have that. To ignore the suffering and childhood cancer and hunger. God's plan's
that's just
comforting,
an
but
idea
but
of
people
particular
pray it
things
away
that
and
can
try to
get
change
you
his
a
mind. It's
concept.
comforting. Except that if you're in the wrong sect, you're going to go to hell for eternal torture. It's comforting to be certain,
No, that's not the
except
God I
that you're
believe.
not. And you've
I've
essentially
created
said
my
that
own
a couple
belief.
times. Not
Yeah.
really, right? You've got doubts. You don't know. And you just ignore them as God ignores those kids who are dying of hunger, right? Those doubts are the
No,
truth knocking at your brain, saying, why are you pretending to be
that's
sure
what I'm
about
saying.
this thing for which you have no evidence and doesn't actually make sense to us? Is it just because other people told you to? So, look, certainty is
No,
not
I
truth,
created this myself.
and
No one
comfort
told me
is
this.
not
That's why it
truth.
feels so good.
And it's scarier to think that the universe doesn't care about what happens to you. It doesn't, but other people do. We give life meaning.
So yeah, I don't believe any of those things that you said about the suffering and the doubts. I created my own God. I don't believe in Christianity or any of those other gods.
Why? Okay, so you have a God that you're the only person in the world that believes in?
Probably. If it's
Okay,
not
so
wrong.
you have a God that you're the only person on the planet who believes in it, and you acknowledge that you can't demonstrate the truth of it, and you're just going around asserting that you wanted it to be true, and that you like the idea that you think you have a more valuable life than those of us who don't believe that. I have zero interest in anything else from you, because basically what you're saying is I made some shit up because it makes me feel better, and it makes me feel like I'm better than you. Well, why would I want to talk to somebody who thinks like that?
Oh, I never think I'm better than you.
You
I think
said
that we're all equal.
that God adds to your life and that my life could be better. And when I asked you to prove that my life could be better, you ran away. Can my life be better or not? And can you prove it?
Yes.
Prove it.
Absolutely. I tried to
Prove it.
I tried to talk to you.
Prove it.
Being grateful to things makes your life better.
Listen, jackass, if you bring up grateful again, I'm going to hang up on you because I have no objection to being grateful. I have objection to a God.
What is your objection to God?
I don't have any reason to believe that a God exists. I have a reason to believe that gratitude is good and useful. I engage in it, as do the people around me. Why are you talking about is your God just gratitude?
My God consists of gratitude and forgiveness and love. Yeah.
That's not a God. Those are things that we do. We engage in gratitude, we engage in forgiveness, we engage in love. None of those things require a thinking agent or anything that would be qualified as a God under any normative definition.
They do not acquire.
No, wait, and those are things that we do for and to each other as well, Dustin.
Yep.
That's our shared humanity that you're talking about.
If every human being existed, there would be no gratitude or love, or if every thinking being in the universe existed, there'd be no gratitude, love, or whatever.
Oh, why not? Prove that.
Because there's no thinking minds for that. All of those things require a thinking mind.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Well, and Dustin, the point that I'm trying to make when I say that that's our shared humanity is that I think you're denigrating that shared humanity a little bit by attributing those very human instincts and emotions to something divine that is specific to you. And I'd encourage you to really dig down and rethink that and really do some self-examination on that particular belief.
But also the God that you're advocating for, if it's only you, congrats. that's a useless God proposition that has no, I mean, it's not even worth wasting time talking about.
Well, obviously I don't want it to only be for me. That's the whole reason I'm calling in.
Well, then prove that it's real, and it might be for somebody else. But until then, it's
not
just for
about
people who are gullible and confused.
And people who want it, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Dustin.